Where can you find two elite men's college basketball programs less than 10 miles apart? Two schools which are among the winningest programs of all time, annually competing for superiority both on a national level and in their own neighborhood. They're both right off Highway 15501. The University of North Carolina Tar Heels in Chapel Hill and the Duke University Blue Devils in Durham.
Jones, can he get a shot off? Yes! Oh. Top of the key! Oh!
What they have created is not only the best rivalry in college hoops, but quite possibly the greatest in any sport around the world, pro or college. The contempt has spanned generations, between current players and former players, current coaches and old coaches, students and alumni, fans within the state of North Carolina, and even fans around the world. Carolina Duke isn't confined to its close quarters. There are many factors that fuel a sports rivalry, especially on a collegiate level. Some can only sustain themselves for a few years or are forgotten over time. North Carolina Duke is not one of those. Duke is private, while UNC is public. They play in the same athletic conference, and both are nearly always nationally ranked. Carolina has won 6 men's NCAA championships, Duke has 5. Carolina has been in a record 21 Final Fours, Duke, 17. Both schools have traditions with a succession of players, coaches, and teams that stretch back over multiple decades. Although UNC won its first NCAA tournament championship in 1957, the Tar Heels' legacy of dominance began when they appointed the man most associated with the school's basketball program, Dean Smith. Dean Smith was the architect of 11 Tar Heel teams to reach the Final Four and mentored players like Charlie Scott, James Worthy, Vince Carter, and MJ. With Smith overseeing the program, North Carolina went on to win it all in 1982 and 1993. 3 more national championships were added on since he left in 1997, this time led by Roy Williams. Meanwhile, during the 80s when UNC was busy dominating college basketball, Duke began something of their own after they hired soon-to-be college hoop icon Mike Krzyzewski. He began at Duke in 1981. His fingerprints were all over the creation of a dynasty that took shape in the late 80s and came to fruition with consecutive championships in 1991 and 1992, the first 2 in program history. The Blue Devils would hoist up the trophy 3 more times, all the while developing a reputation as the best, most recognized, and most disliked program in America. Coach K would go on to surpass Smith in victories with over 1,200 of them before retiring in 2022. His legacy includes coaching icons like Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, Shane Battier, and JJ Redick. But names and legacies alone make this nothing more than a staring match. It's when the two sides have taken their contention to the court that Duke Carolina comes to life.
Yeah, you get hit right in the eye by Jones. Oh, we got a fight over here.
In for another rebound. Oh, watch out. He took a shot to the face.
Yeah, he took some shot.
Outside of the violence, the two schools are constantly in the middle of dramatic endings and heartbreaking conclusions. Even though these schools go way back, it's figures like Coach K and Dean Smith, or clutch players like Michael Jordan or Christian Laettner, that have defined not only the hatred between Chapel Hill and Durham for the past half-century, but the reason why so many eyes around the country gravitate towards the state of North Carolina every year when college basketball is underway. The magnitude of this rivalry extends well beyond just the university walls. It seeps into the water cooler on a weekday when co-workers represent their preferred blue, Carolina or Prussian. Fans outside of the state won't hesitate buying hats or t-shirts of either school due to how big both basketball programs are, and how they compete to be the best one in the country. This rivalry is not only the biggest in college basketball, but arguably in all sports. It's up there with El Clasico, Yankees-Red Sox, the Old Firm, and the Iron Bowl. Let me know what you think is the biggest one in the comments below. But despite both schools eating up all the attention in the state, basketball in North Carolina is much more than just the Battle of the Blues. Coach K, Dean Smith, and Roy Williams sustaining both programs obviously plays a massive role in how North Carolina built up its reputation in basketball, but the success of a couple other schools in the state certainly contributed. Let's start with NC State, in which relative to most schools, it has a rich history of basketball. While much of their success came before the 90s, including 2 NCAA tournament wins, the school is known to be a regular when it comes to attending the March Madness frenzy. The Wolfpack do, however, play a major role in basketball's popularity within the state, so stick around and I'll explain why shortly. And then there's Wake Forest, the Ringo Starr of these 4 schools. The university sits far away from the others and has had very few moments of success compared to UNC, Duke, and NC State. That being said though, 5 conference tournament championships, 1 Final Four appearance, and abundance of years attending the national tournament isn't nothing. NC State and Wake Forest each deserve flowers of their own. The Wolfpack may not be in their heyday anymore, and the Demon Deacons show up every now and then in minor fashion, but these schools, along with Duke and UNC, make a strong unit of basketball programs while being no more than 110 miles away from each other. The Golden Triangle, or better known as just the Triangle by North Carolinians, covers 3 cities close to each other: Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each city has a university program that's a major player in college basketball. And if we keep following Tobacco Road, we can include Wake Forest in this cluster of basketball hubs. This cluster is the heart and soul of the state's ability to attract and pump out the best talent around the US, and the proximity between them breeds a competitive nature between each program on the court as well as within their recruiting calendar. It provides a strong argument towards North Carolina being the state most desirable to develop young basketball talent. After all, only California has produced more national championships than North Carolina's 13. But besides UCLA winning it all in 1995, the rest of the state's titles happened before the 80s. It poses the question, is North Carolina currently the best state for college basketball? There's a good case to back that claim up. But what separates the Tar Heel state from the rest is that it prioritized becoming competitive in the sport during a time when its neighbors were busy focusing on football. This reign of dominance, though, doesn't begin with Duke or UNC. It starts with NC State and Raleigh. Following World War II, football dominated the South. North Carolina, along with its neighboring states, was mainly perceived as a football stronghold, with the state's basketball scene not nearly as prominent as we know today. But North Carolina State University, one of the state's major institutions, found itself struggling to compete on the football field against its regional rivals, along with other collegiate sports. Things were so dire for the school that Reynolds Coliseum, where they played their basketball games until 1999, had its construction halted for 8 years due to the country limiting the use of steel for World War II and the Korean War. So in a strategic move to bolster their basketball team, NC State made the decision to bring in a coach that could elevate the program. In comes Everett Case, a renowned figure in the high school basketball landscape of Indiana, a state with a strong backbone in high school ball. Case's 726-75 record as a high school coach in Indiana marked him as the ideal candidate to transform NC State's basketball program. Under Case, NC State began to flourish. The school won the Southern Conference Championship 6 times in a row, and after winning it all in 1947, Case's Wolfpack cut down the net during celebrations, a tradition that has been carried out since Case coached in Indiana, and one that's continued all the way to present day by schools all over the country. The team's remarkable achievements and winning traditions quickly garnered widespread popularity, and the Tar Heel State began to take notice of basketball in a way it had never before. The allure of the sport, the passion of the fans, and the excitement of each game fueled the rise of basketball in North Carolina. Case made an effort to use the unfinished Reynolds Coliseum as an opportunity for the school, and pushed the state university to expand its seating to 30% more than Duke's, making it the largest basketball arena in the Southeast. The extra capacity was well needed, as the fury of fans coming in to see Case's NC State made Raleigh the basketball capital of the world. The rest of the Tobacco Road schools took notice of NC State's popularity and began to upgrade their own facilities in order to compete with their state rivals. The competition around North Carolina was starting to become apparent. As the success of NC State's basketball program under Case became undeniable, UNC observed the growing enthusiasm and fervor for the sport within the state. Seeing the potential to further enhance their own basketball program and capitalize on the burgeoning interest in the game, UNC made their own move. The school decided to appoint a coach who could continue to elevate their basketball program. They recruited Frank McGuire, the coach from St. John's, known for his tactical prowess and leadership in the basketball world. McGuire's arrival at UNC set the stage for a transformative era in Tar Heels basketball. Under his guidance, the Tar Heels achieved unprecedented success and national recognition, where they were crowned champions at the 1957 NCAA Championship Final in Kansas City, squaring off against Kansas, who pretty much had home court advantage with how close the school was to the venue. This championship game, though, was a historic moment for the state of North Carolina, as it earmarked the first ever televised national championship game for college basketball. Facing off against the Jayhawks, who boasted Wilt Chamberlain as their dominant center, this dramatic showdown unfolded in an epic triple overtime battle, with UNC winning it all. The victory over a basketball giant like Kansas, along with the presence of Chamberlain, the most dominant player college basketball had ever seen, captured the collective imagination of North Carolinians. 11 TV stations, 73 radio stations, and 63 writers were all present at the game, making it the largest media presence ever to attend a men's basketball game. The significance of the media attention towards this championship win cannot be overstated. It was a moment that transcended sports, becoming a cultural and communal touchstone for those from North Carolina. People across the state crowded around TVs belonging to friends, family, or neighbors to witness their home state team topple Kansas. Because of this, basketball's popularity skyrocketed throughout North Carolina. 4 years later, however, the Tar Heels faced a major scandal. The UNC basketball team was caught point shaving along with providing illegitimate financial assistance to players' parents. This led to McGuire's resignation and forced UNC to search for a new coach. UNC wanted a bench boss that values integrity over immediate wins. Who did they end up hiring? Dean Smith. And we know how the rest of that story plays out. Dean Smith's success at UNC encouraged its rival Duke to take a chance on Bob Knight's understudy, Mike Krzyzewski, leading to both schools dominating the country in college hoops for the next several decades. The Tar Heels and Blue Devils may be two programs that get constant national recognition today, but you can't tell the story of basketball in North Carolina without lumping NC State in there as well. After all, they were the Trailblazers for an entire state. This golden triangle of schools are responsible for turning a whole state from one that fiends football to a basketball-loving region, making it arguably the best state in the country when it comes to this particular sport. Competition breeds success, like baseball in New York, soccer in England, or even football in Alabama. When you have multiple institutions reaching the same goal, you get kids falling in love with what they have in common while representing their team's colors. It's a natural route to tribalism. This tribalism from those in North Carolina may cause a rivalry between friends or split families during a big game. But with how close these schools are to each other and how much they keep an eye on one another, it only adds fuel to basketball's fire. Time will tell whether or not UNC and Duke can maintain their relevance over the coming decades. Their tenured icons of the past have a strong legacy to replace, but to say it's unlikely is a hot take, as we saw how close UNC came in 2022. Maybe a new basketball program within the state emerges, or maybe another state begins to develop competition within its own borders, similar to what we've seen along Tobacco Road. Right now though, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. North Carolina currently holds the crown over the rest of the 50 states. Will they lose their relevance like California, or carry on with winning ways? Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe.